Hey, this is Cameron, and welcome to the practice log. Alright, well, we got another morning session ahead of us, so let's go ahead and make our way to the chair, and we'll go over what we're gonna do today. So, I'll see you there. I just woke up. I drank some instant coffee. It's digesting now. We're gonna practice some Bach today. Beatle V1001. I'm gonna work on the Presto, the Siciliana. I have the new Giuliani piece that I'm working on, Opus 15, I think it is. The Sonata, first movement. And I think that's it. Also, I got an idea for a new video that I'm gonna go into. It's a viewer-submitted video, so that's pretty exciting. It's gonna be a little different from the usual. Well, you'll see. Alright, I don't want to waste too much time in this chair, because we ain't talking today. We'll talk tomorrow, but, you know, we got work to do. So, I'm gonna go ahead and get to the bench. I'll see you there. I'm sorry, I don't mean to rush through it. I don't mean to neglect you. I'm just busy right now, okay? I did a lot of sitting yesterday. My legs still kind of hurt, which that's actually kind of the topic of today's video. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, this hasn't exactly been like the most productive session, I have to admit. I'm just kind of going at it. You know, I think I should probably call it here. I read a bit through the Giuliani. I need to put some serious memory work into the Siciliana and Presto now, because I think I can pretty much play through them. I'm not going to play any of that for you. Let me bring you closer. How about this? I'm just going to play the Adagio. From memory, let's do it. That was the Adagio. I'm really trying to incorporate some nice like tone color changes and some other stuff, as you maybe have been able to tell if that came across. I'm trying to bring out the tense chords. I feel like those should be loud. There are a few favorite ones that I have. Yeah, I don't know if I should take it faster. Maybe I should. I've been finding that I've been going slower with a lot of these movements. I mean, there's some like fast recordings of these pieces, but I don't know. I kind of like being able to think what I'm gonna do instead of just like playing through the notes. But yeah, that was the Adagio. There you go. Hope you enjoyed that. It's pretty good, right? It wasn't too bad, I don't think. All right, let's make our way to the computer, and we're gonna see what we have in store today. So I got a video suggestion from Pete. This is a video interview with John Mills, guitarist. Torn tendons and herniated spinal discs. He warned me that it won't be funny, but it will be informative and scary. I take that as a challenge. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna listen. But I might throw in a zinger every once in a while. I mean, you know me.
The Beatles. Rehearsing, recording,
The Beatles rehearsed? I'm just kidding. I suck, I know. John Mills, classical guitarist. And Michael Bonner talks with him. I'm talking with John Mills in his home near Bath. My living room is also near my bath. So general discussion about musicians' health and the perception of playing-related injuries. Fun fact, I've never had a playing-related injury. Maybe your response to that is like, well, you don't practice enough. I think I practice enough to get injured. I just haven't.
What do you think are the most common causes of repetitive strain?
It could be through either
tension and angles, that's my guess.
Not being aware of the damage that you're doing, trying to play through the pain barrier too much. Maybe also...
Ooh, yeah, the pain barrier. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I've never had like a serious injury, but I do sometimes feel like pain come up like in my knuckles, especially in my left hand, like when I'm doing a lot of crazy stretches and stuff. When that happens, I'm very serious about like stopping for like 5 minutes or so and then coming back to it and changing something. We're not in the gym. Pain's not good.
If you're teaching yourself, you're not aware of these things. Could be occasionally, rarely, through bad teaching.
Watch it, buddy.
Bad positioning of the hands, particularly the wrists. If you are receiving lessons, the teachers need to understand what will work for that particular student. I don't think there's one thing that will work for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I have my own technique, and I feel like people comment on like how bent my wrist is, but I really do think that my hand just kind of works that way. Like this angle for me is really comfortable, and this never gives me any issues. Now, when you start doing that, that's going to give me issues. We have that like bend right there, and obviously going too far, that's going to give me issues. There's a range kind of in the middle that's between like here and there, and I usually stick to around there. Generally, my advice is whatever your hand looks like when you're completely relaxed, that's kind of how you should just bring your hands to the guitar and then move them to where they need to be, and then you're just pulling your fingers in. None of that stuff, you're just pulling them in. Then this, you're just pressing them. It's none of that. None of that. Sometimes you have to do that if you can help it. A lot of times the guitar position can prevent you from doing that though, if you just raise the guitar up. I keep my guitar kind of low, so sometimes I do have to do that, but I only do it for brief moments. I don't hold my hand like that. Like you see me when I go to chord, sometimes it'll go like bam, and then I'm back. Don't hold it there.
It's to do with the angle of the guitar, the wrist positions, the height of the wrist, this and so on. When you're on the road, there's nobody travelling with you, usually.
If you're a soloist, no.
Soloist, that's it. You get yourself around, carrying suitcases. There may be one reason.
Yeah, that is so true. Like, there's no one here with me right now. It is a lonely life, the life of a classical guitarist.
I did this wrist, carrying a heavy suitcase. That's quite possible.
Why do you think...
Wait, what? Why are you carrying a heavy suitcase? Dude, who just has a carry suitcase? Yo, you gotta get some wheels for that thing, man. You're carrying your suitcase? I don't know, man. That sounds wild to me. I mean, the heaviest thing you should have is your guitar. And a lot of guitar cases you can wear like a backpack.
I think it's particularly to do with the right hand. You have to look at the size of the hand and the relationship of the thumb to the fingers. And we've got this so-called new hand position, which is very low. It's okay for many people. Indeed, you might say for most people. But if you have a very long thumb, this low hand position can easily mean that your thumb angle is not, the string is not sufficient. Then they also have this bending of the thumb very often, so you're putting
bad bend
on this main tendon here. And I know several people now that have quit because they can't play anymore.
Because they bent their thumb. Guys, don't bend your thumb. No. That's like the first thing I teach in a guitar lesson, is just a thumb stroke, because I find that most people can do that.
Don't get me wrong, that position can work very well for some people. What I'm saying is I don't think it works for everybody. It's curious that the old sort of Tarrega Segovia position of the right hand, which is...
Oh. Yeah.
And they come along and they make comments about how, isn't that a great strain, it's a great stress playing with the slight turn of the wrist. Well, I said, no, it isn't, because you just do that and it's there. That's it. It's not that. It's just there. It's very relaxed, actually. I find it more relaxed than holding the hand like that. But then again, I learnt in the late 50s, so perhaps a different approach. But that way does bring the thumb out. You don't want a great big arch like that, but it's just there. If you some of the great players, it's very relaxed.
Who do you think is...
Yeah. I still think that's part of the mid-range range that we have here. Because you do see that sometimes. And that, God, even just doing that hurt my wrist. You guys ever see that meme, like how to break your thumb tendon? This might be like really wrong of me to show. Yeah, here we go. This right here. If you're bored, how to break your thumb ligament. Hold it. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, that's how I feel like a pain there when I bend it that way. But yeah, there's a difference between that and that, for sure.
At risk from developing a repetitive strain injury? Office workers, musicians, athletes, or cleaners?
This is a test question, and I'm not sure I know the answer.
It's a little out of your field of
It is really.
Having an office job is a little out of your field. You guitar loser.
Well, they're many and varied. Depends what you play.
That was an answer. This is a fair point. Orchestral percussionists are at lower risk than violinists, so they can't all be lumped into the same category. Violin technique wigs me out. I feel like any instrument that's not piano, it's hard to practice for more than like 2 or 3 hours a day. Except for guitar. I guess you get used to it. I don't know.
Down to virtuosic musicians who really want to be the top of their field, rather than someone who strums a few chords and sings.
And then you had office workers.
Yep.
Cleaners.
Yep.
And
athletes
who you would imagine would be very well trained.
Yes, because they have to be.
And I have a feeling that you know.
He's taking it back. Dude, he's doing what I do. He just has to add some oohs. This was an unfair question because they're all considered high-risk occupations.
Very well the answer to that.
I don't know the answer. Dude, I appreciate that. He's like, dude, I don't know anything. What are you talking about, man?
And then you're going to prove me wrong.
This is not about proving you wrong. This is
He has to, like, it's really funny. He has to clarify all this in post. There's an air of, like, insecurity about it that I find really endearing. I asked this purely to get an idea of people's perception of the risk factors. Let me know who you think are the most at risk in the comments below. I'll just let you know here. I think office workers are the most at risk. You know why? Because they aren't trained to prevent injury. Athletes generally are. There's technique in sport, and the whole point of technique is to get results, of course, but it's also to get results without injury, ideally, right? Same thing with musicians. I mean, if you have a proper teacher who, like, taught you decent technique, and if you have some scrutiny of your own. Office workers, though, I've talked about this. You're not trained to go to a keyboard and learn how to, like, achieve mid-range and, like, look at your angles and stuff of your hands. You're taught where everything is. When people type, they have to bend their wrist like that instead of doing this. This is how you should type. I think ideally a keyboard would probably look something like this, where it, like, kind of is like a circle that you type around, and then there would be a support for your arm right here. And then maybe you could move your arm too somehow. All you have to do is just tap. Just do that. And you're never gonna get hurt if you do that. Even when I'm editing, like when I edit, because I edit on my bed, my hand on the bed is like this, and I can feel after like an hour, it hurts. Like I'm developing like carpal tunnel syndrome or something, and I have to fold up a shirt and rest my hand on it. Once my hand is really fatigued, I actually just move from my arm, and I just click. I try to do that, so I keep like this sort of position. So you can see I have my mid-range position here, and then my hand doesn't hurt anymore. So yeah, office workers are not trained to prevent injury. They're trained to make their boss money, and their boss doesn't care if they get injured, so why would they teach them that? Also, their boss doesn't know.
I would say high up would come office workers.
Woo! And we're gonna end it there. Boom, boom, boom. I'll let him explain himself, but we're gonna end it there. We've been at this for long enough.
Not having the right kind of chair, being locked in a position for hours on end, developing this strain on their computers and keyboards and things like that.
Yeah, and I would even argue that being locked in a position isn't necessarily the issue. It's being locked in a position that's conducive to injury. If you're locked in this position, you could stay there for 20 years, and all you're doing is just tapping your finger. You won't get injured from doing that. If you do get injured from doing that, you just shouldn't type. That it's just not for you then. So, yeah, this is a pretty good one. I like this one. We're gonna go through the whole thing. I'm gonna try to watch more than 2 minutes at a time. We got 4.5 minutes in this time. I'm sure this clip that I just recorded is like 25 minutes long. All right. let's go ahead and wrap this thing up, shall we? Hey, that was a pretty interesting discussion. Of course, like, I don't always know what the right video is to watch. So if you have any suggestions, even if they're kind of out there, because I feel like Pete thought that this one was kind of out there, but I actually think it's kind of a good one to watch on the show. So, you know, don't be afraid to leave them. I make one of these every single day, so if there's like a weird video that just doesn't land, it's fine, it's just one day. What else we got? Hey, if you made it this far, be sure to subscribe, leave a like. Want some guitar lessons? I'll teach you how to play the Adagio, teach you all the stuff I'm thinking about. And of course, like, beginner stuff, you know, I'll teach you how to read music, like the song that you're hearing right now. And technique that won't ruin your hands. Oh, any comment questions? Feel free to leave them and I will answer them, of course. I think that's everything. Alright, well, I'll see you tonight.